My cousin pestered my sister-in-law at my wedding, and my parents defended him. Well, get all of them out of there, parents included. Trigger warning, threats of physical altercations. So I, 28 female, just married the love of my life, 30 male. Congrats. And my wedding was 2 weeks ago. And I feel like I'm living in the wreckage of a bomb I set off myself. I'm so lost, and I need to know if I'm the monster my family is making me out. By the way, this comes from Better Jellyfish, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. I'm Sophia.
And I'm Angie.
And OP says, my husband's family is Arab Muslim, and they are, without exaggeration, the best people I have ever known. I'm an only child, and my own family is really complicated. My husband's family welcomed me with open arms from day one, so for the first time, I felt like I had a real supportive family unit. My half-brother from my dad's side is much older, and he currently lives in Japan. Even though we don't talk much, he still called me to congratulate me. As for my parents, they weren't supportive of my marriage until I told them I'd cut them off if they kept pushing. I already knew going in that I couldn't count on them for anything but drama. The wedding itself was perfect. For a while, everyone was happy. Even my parents were smiling at some point. Then there's my cousin Mark, 35 male. My aunt begged me to invite him, and honestly, and yes, I regret this, I couldn't really say no because I didn't want any drama. Mark is a walking disaster. He is a womanizer, has 3 children with 3 different women he abandoned. Yikes! And his own father is the one sending the money. Oof. He's just a user. But for my aunt, the sun shines out of his butt. The night was winding down when I heard a scream. Not a happy one. I turned and saw my youngest sister-in-law, Layla, backed against a wall. My cousin Mark was standing in front of her, and he was dripping wet. She was the one who screamed, and she was holding an empty water glass. Backstory, my sister-in-law had a traumatic accident years ago, and ever since then, she's been uncomfortable around men. Even hugging her own dad and brother took years of patience and trust. So for her to be cornered at my wedding by my cousin, telling her to take off her hijab, saying she was too pretty to be covering her hair, and pushing her like that, she was literally shaking. Even worse that she's gone through a traumatic experience.
Yeah.
To be clear, that would be bad for literally anyone. So even worse for this poor woman.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, that's already just like he's trying to attack her.
Yeah.
Just terrible, terrible situation.
My goodness.
My older sister-in-law, who is a force of nature, was already there and getting in his face. It was about to get physical. My father-in-law calmly stepped between them, looked at Mark, and said quietly, but with absolute finality, "It's time for you to leave my son's wedding." I thought that would be the end of it and was ready to console Layla, but then my aunt, Mark's mother, stormed over. "You can't punt him out. He was just joking with her. She's being too sensitive." First it was, "He was complimenting her," and then it became, "He was just joking." Before I could even speak up, my own mother piped up, "I'm sorry, but she's right. This is a huge overreaction. Mark didn't mean any harm. That's just how he is." You're all gone.
Well,
you're literally all gone.
What if how he is the type of person to cause harm?
Yeah. What if how he is a predator?
Yeah.
Seeing Layla still shaking and looking so scared, and hearing my own mother defend this creep who had just pestered my new sister, a switch flipped inside me and I snapped. I looked straight at my aunt and said, "No, he needs to leave now." She started up again. "OP, you're not going to disrespect your family like this." And I just let her have it. "My family? You don't get to lecture me about family. This is actually why your own is broken. This blind worship of your useless, good-for-nothing son is the reason you have one child who ruins every event he attends and another one who hasn't spoken to you in 5 years. And you dare wonder why your own daughter went no contact? It's because of this. Because you will always choose him over the people he hurts. So yes, he's leaving, and you can leave with him if you want." The entire area went silent. Then my aunt started crying and stormed out with my cousin and my parents trailing behind after they gave me one of their classic "you're a disappointment" looks. My phone has been a nightmare since. Texts from my parents calling me cruel, vicious, and saying I used a family tragedy, my other cousin leaving, as a weapon. They told me how my aunt has been sending them messages about how I broke her heart. My husband has been supportive, telling me I was just defending Layla and that my family showed their true colors, but I can't get rid of these moments of guilt. Mark was 100% in the wrong. I've already cut him off. I don't want him anywhere near me or my husband's family again. The part I keep thinking about is what I said to my aunt. I don't regret defending my sister-in-law. She was scared out of her mind, and I will always pick her over him, but maybe I went too far bringing up her daughter leaving. I know that's a sore spot, and I basically twisted the knife. I feel like I dropped a nuke to win a fist fight, and now my entire family is radioactive. Am I the a-hole? And there is an update. No.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but like, I don't care.
Yeah, I literally don't care what your family has to say, because your cousin Mark tried to literally attack someone. Like that is like religiously just like okay. Even like if you're thinking about it from, let's just say she was wearing, like, I don't know, any other piece of clothing.
Yeah.
If he tries to take that off, that is assault.
Yeah. So, and I mean, I don't know if he actually did take it off,
He
but
did,
he was
but
saying,
it's attempted assault. Is
yeah,
my
he
point.
was saying like you should take it off.
Yeah,
and like
and he was,
trying
like,
and
reaching for it,
cornering
yeah.
her for that. It's like that is like, you know, physically, you know, I don't know if he would like fight her, but
I don't know if he was going to do that, but I
I don't think it would be fight, but I think he would have still assaulted in other ways, if you know what I'm talking about. I think it's very possible. So
this was so dangerous in so many ways.
Yeah, cornering a woman is saying that, you know, you're too pretty for this.
Yeah.
If it was even if it was anything else, just on one hand is
on the very
bad.
least, it's at the very worst, it's assault, you know?
Sure. But like that's just already so uncomfortable and scary as a woman, and to be saying like, oh, like you're wasting your face. What does that even mean? Like, so what is he gonna do with, you know what I mean? But then the fact that it's her hijab too, which is like the importance of that, and like like taking that down around a man.
Yes,
is like
it's
extremely like not what you're, you know, supposed to do, if that's what you if that's
what you practice,
what you abide by.
Yes.
Yeah, then so that's like even more the fact that they're just like as a woman not supporting her and not defending her, but then as like they're not defending her culture too. It's like I think you're totally fine to be this harsh with them, because I mean, it's true. You didn't say anything that wasn't true. Yeah. They did do that. They lost their daughter by, you know, her cutting them off. It was their fault that they did that, or that happened, right? Like, I'm assuming anyway. So it's not like it's something that's like, oh, you know, you brought up the fact that they can't have kids or something like that. You know, it's like, this is their fault. They need to come to terms with it for real.
And I did think he was trying to take it off. It's I look back at it, it is a little bit unclear, but at the very least it said he was pushing her and telling her to take it off, so very clearly
I mean, if she felt the need to throw water in his face at all at a wedding,
like clearly that was, you know, she feared escalation.
So you're good, OP.
Update: I'm trying to write this without getting emotional, but I'm failing. I've just been sitting here with tears in my eyes watching this post blow up. It might sound small, but seeing this level of support, even from strangers on the internet, has genuinely helped me see this whole situation with so much more clarity. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. For those who thought it was fake, I get it, but all I can say is this is my life. I know it's obvious I'm not the knucklehead for defending Layla. She deserves the world, and I would do it again in a heartbeat, no regrets. I just wanted advice, because when you grow up a certain way, it's hard to trust your own judgment. My parents are masters of making you feel like you're the crazy one. Meeting my now husband was the turning point. He's so kind, respectful, and supportive, and he showed me what a healthy family dynamic actually looks like. I really can't wait for a future full of him and our shared happiness. Now for the important part. Layla is doing better. I called her a few hours after the post, and she immediately started apologizing and saying she felt bad for ruining the night. I immediately shut that down and told her what happened was 100% Mark's fault. His behavior was awful, and she did nothing wrong. I actually apologized to her for him even being there, and for him putting her through that at my wedding. We talked for a while, and she told me she's been seeing a therapist for a while now to work through her trauma, which I think is incredible of her She's so strong and amazing. But I think it'd be amazing if you listen to full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. There is a little bit left to the story, but yeah.
I'm glad she's doing better. I'm glad she's going to go to therapy.
Yeah.
That's super nice.
Because, this clearly was, she went through a traumatizing event and then, has to be re-traumatized by freaking Mark.
Right.
If anyone in your family defends this, it's just, I would not want them around.
Exactly.
But there's a little bit left. While I got some vile DMs, the overwhelming majority has been incredible. I especially want to thank the hijabi and Arab women who messaged me. Hearing your stories and how you felt for Layla and understood her experience just made me tear up. It's painful, but the support I saw gave me so much hope for a world where girls everywhere can just exist without being pestered. As for my parents, I took your advice. I sent a final, very short message and blocked them. The only response was a predictable email from my dad saying he'd be ready to listen when I was ready to apologize. Yeah, he'll be waiting a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
My goodness.
Yeah. Wow.
My family wanted my estranged brother at my wedding, but I refused to give in.
You're to stay estranged.
For context, my brother, 26 male, and I, 31 female, have been estranged for years. He has always been arrogant, self-absorbed, and unapologetic about past behavior. Growing up, our mother, 62 female, constantly played favorites. He was the golden child, and he thrived in that role. By the way, this comes from Chili Tomato Cup Noodle, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. And I'm Angie.
I'm Sophia.
And OP says, the last time we spoke, we had a major argument. He has never shown any remorse, and I have made peace with not having a relationship with him. I am a foreign MD working in the US and getting married to my American fiance, 33 male, in early 2026. My family lives in my home country, and we are finalizing our guest list since it will be a destination wedding. My mother insists on letting my brother come along when she found out that he did not know that I was already getting married. She then insisted that I invite him to the wedding. Not sure if this was his idea or purely hers, even asking me to provide an invitation letter to help his chances of getting a tourist visa. I respectfully told her no. Aside from our personal history, the reality is that he is still a student with very few ties to home, so I doubt he would even qualify for a visa on his own. My parents, who already have valid visas and have visited me before, offered to be his guarantor, saying that my invitation letter would help him out. Personally, I don't want him to have access to me, and I refuse to let him benefit from me. My mom argued that he could stay at a separate hotel and that she just wanted the whole family together. I explained that I don't feel comfortable with him being at my wedding and that I don't want to deal with that stress on what should be a special day. I told her that by insisting on his presence, she was only reinforcing my feelings, that she prioritizes his feelings over mine. She kept pressing, saying that relatives would talk badly if my brother wasn't invited. I finally told her that if she insisted, then she could also consider herself uninvited. That led to a blow-up where she accused me of being ungrateful. We Asians are big on indebtedness to family. She even reminded me that she and my father helped pay for my exams, which were expensive as an international medical graduate. She said the least I could do was grant her this one wish. And I then exasperatedly told her that I would think about it. Am I the a-hole for refusing to invite my brother? Is there a reasonable compromise here, or should I stand my ground? There are some comments, but what do you think, Sophia?
Well, I think if you have a terrible relationship with your brother and don't want him at your wedding, then don't have him at your wedding.
Yeah,
it's your
honestly.
wedding.
Yeah, I feel like, maybe, you can still keep your parents inviting, like, you could still invite your parents, but, like, yeah, I think if this is really a big deal, I don't know if you need to go into like more detail to your parents about why you're still mad at him or something. Like, I don't know. But I think like, they're obviously trying to guilt trip you. Yeah. So I think that's the only reason why that thought is in your head of like that you're the a-hole. So I feel like
I do think it makes sense why your mom is, trying to get you to invite your brother.
Sure.
Like it's her son. She wants him to be there. She wants him in the country.
Right.
I get it. However, it doesn't mean that you have to, do what she says and invite him.
Yeah.
To your wedding.
Exactly. Some of OP's comments are responding to who is paying for the wedding. OP says, me and my fiance would be paying for the wedding. No financial help from either of our families. Another commenter says there's a lot of cultural stuff here that I'm not sure how to deal with. I know just enough about Asian family culture to know that I don't know enough to comment on it. If you were one of my friends in my culture, the answer would be not the a-hole. So I'm going with that. Opie says, I agree. That's why I chose to seek opinions here on Am I the A-hole? Cross-posting this to a sub with mostly people from my country would likely invite backlash and pressure me into compromising, since many there are deeply religious and family-oriented. I really appreciate the validation of my decision. It's difficult to untangle ourselves from cultural influences, but being in the US has definitely opened my eyes. Another commenter says, not the a-hole. Just reimburse her for your testing fees. You will never be out of her debt otherwise. The next will be, your brother needs financial help, so you need to help him because I spent so much money paying for your exams. Your brother needs a job. Maybe you can help him go to the US. Nip all of this in the bud. You don't have to explain much at the wedding. Brother doesn't have a visa, so he's not here. Opie says, yep, I'm in the process of paying the exam fees back. This whole situation has really opened my eyes to its gravity, and I don't like having that fact constantly dangled over my head. As for the second part about the job, I can absolutely see that happening. And honestly, as the older sibling, I'm exhausted from always being expected to bail out someone who is so blatantly disrespectful and unappreciative every single time. The top commenter says, no, you don't think about it. No is no. She doesn't get to hold the exams over your head. That was a decision they made as adults and as your parents. Not leverage so they can boundary stomp you. This is not your mom's day. Who gives a F if she just wants her family together? Your wedding isn't about her. She can take it as it is or leave it. Not the a-hole, don't bend. Opie says, I agree. I've decided to firmly say no in our next conversation. Okay. I don't owe this to her or anyone, and certainly not to the brat that she raised. I don't want him creating problems for me, and knowing how spiteful he is, I'm sure he'll find a way to violate the trip and drag me into trouble. Another commenter says, not the a-hole. If your brother decides to outstay his visa, your parents and you might be well on the hook for fines and whatever else the U.S. governments think is a fitting punishment.
Yeah, that's a great point. If you vouch for him, if you're the guarantor, not a good look for you.
Not a good look. Any invites you extend in the future would also be looked at with extra sharp eyes. He doesn't care about that, so the answer is no, and no again. Too much risk. OP says, I agree. I remember during my application, they asked whether I had family living in the country, and I think they run background checks. A lot of people from my country tend to overstay, and applications can be denied for far less. Knowing how vindictive he is, I'm certain he'd find a way to get me into trouble. And we do have an update. But yeah, I think those are all very good points.
Yeah.
I think it's just gonna go wrong. And
somehow.
Right. And like that one commenter said, it's like, it's definitely gonna be more than this one last wish.
Exactly. You know? They're gonna keep asking you for things.
Yep.
It's probably gonna keep you on the hook for getting him in the country.
Right.
I think it's best especially because you don't have a relationship with this guy.
Yeah.
Or your brother.
Absolutely.
Just best to let them figure it out.
Exactly. But we do have an update. So, just got off the phone with my mother. I respectfully told her that she needs to respect my decision not to bring him around. That if he were genuinely interested in reconciliation, he would have reached out himself, not as a grown man hiding behind his mommy. Thank you, by the way, for helping me realize this. I also made it clear that if she was even considering doing something behind my back or to try to spring a nasty surprise on the day of, I would not hesitate to exclude her entirely. To no one's surprise, this was met with a screaming match, followed by the classic religious guilt trip. Do you want an awful marriage? How can it be blessed by God if both parents aren't there to give their blessing? Yada yada. Then came the lecture about what I'd tell my future children if their uncle was out of the picture, and of course the accusation that living in the US has changed my perspective on family. As for my father, I don't think he's aware of all this yet, but I'm sure he'll hear about it soon. Never had an issue with him, though. He's always supported me, even with being no contact with my brother. I know he'd disapprove, but ultimately he would understand. What I expect next is her tried and true stonewalling routine. That's fine. I've seen this pattern countless times. Never resolving conflicts, just freezes me out until she feels like pretending nothing happened. Textbook emotionally immature parent. Even if she decides to patch things up later, it won't be by acknowledging her mistakes, just by softening the silent treatment. And in her eyes, this will always be my wrongdoing. Whatever. Her refusal to respect my boundaries and her continued treatment of me only confirm what I already know. Going no contact with her is the healthiest choice. I can understand, to an extent, why she favors the younger sibling. There are plenty of factors I've reasoned with myself over the years. He's male, following their footsteps as a lawyer, still lives with them, and his backstory as a child was marked by sickness and multiple brushes with passing. So, yes, I get the overprotectiveness. But even on our last get-together trip overseas a few years ago, I recall having to consciously remind myself not to roll my eyes every time she babied him into oblivion, as if he isn't a full-grown man. And I will never roll my eyes at you listening to full episodes with more stories just like this one. Just go to Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your favorite podcast app is, and search OK Storytime. And there is a little bit more to the story, but yeah, it sounds like she knows what she wants, and I'm glad that she's standing her ground.
And the parents are going to try and bully you, into doing what they want because they got their little golden child son, but do what you want. It's your wedding.
Yeah, exactly. It'll maybe hire security for the wedding too.
Yeah, honestly.
Just in case someone shows up unexpected. When I raised concerns to her about him, and during one instance, his arrogance and toxic self-centered behavior, she just brushed it off. In her defense, that he needs to be so-and-so and develop a thick skin because he's in a high-stress, competitive environment. So, aren't doctors also in high-stress environments? Do we all have to behave that way? Cue silence, of course. I know there are cultural nuances and complexities here, with us being Asian and a glimpse of our family dynamics that are complicated as all heck. Thank you for all of your insights, and rest assured, on the day of my wedding, there will be plenty of security measures in place. And that's the end of that story.
There you go.
Well, good. That's good.
My mother-in-law kept insulting me, so I cut off her access to my baby.
You insult the mother, you insult the baby. Get away from my son.
I, 26 female, have been married to my husband, 27 male, for a little over a year now. We met 4 years ago when I was a student teacher and college student near his favorite pizza place, and we literally met walking on the same street. By the way, this comes from Remarkable P2170, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Sophia.
And I'm Angie.
And OP says, I've always loved my husband, but the problem is that we were in 2 different tax brackets before getting married. He comes from a family of money, and my mom worked 2 jobs growing up. It's literally luck that we met, because if the system had their way, I'd be relying on government assistance to live. No offense to anyone who does, considering that's how it was for my mom her entire life. Despite our different backgrounds, he never made me feel less than. Even before we got married, he made me feel like his money was also my money. From the moment I met his mom, she never directly made me feel unwelcome, like in the movies. But the way she looked at me, or the way she'd make comments disguised as jokes about my college choice, really made me uncomfortable. I never brought it up, but as my husband and I got more serious, she got worse. Soon she started making outright rude comments against me, like saying I was stupid for going to college for early education because they don't make much money, or comparing me to her other daughter-in-laws who were nurses or in the business field. My husband has confronted her about it multiple times, but even then, her behavior would only change for a few weeks before she slowly started the process again. Anyways, my husband proposed early last year, and we got married 6 months later at a beautiful vineyard with my dream dress. The entire day was perfect until she made her speech, which she started off with, "She's not the woman I had in mind, but she's the woman he loves." In contrast, my mom's speech was about how happy I am and how she cries happy tears every night because I found true love. My mother-in-law's speech ruined my whole night, but when my husband confronted her after our honeymoon, she apologized over the phone and sent flowers to our house. 3 months ago, I found out I was pregnant.
Congrats!
And I'm so excited for this chapter in my life. My husband has already wanted to be a father, so he's already begun buying baby stuff and sending me pictures of what he wants the nursery to look like. We told his family during their bi-weekly family dinner last week. While everyone seemed happy, we all held our breath, waiting for his mother's reaction. Play the happy grandmother-to-be facade, but 2 days ago, my brother-in-law's wife, who I'm close to, sent me the message that another brother's wife had forwarded to her. They showed my mother-in-law, stating that she's disappointed in him and that now I'm stuck in their family. And you suck.
Yeah.
She's stuck and you suck.
Yeah, exactly.
Almost cried, but I didn't. Because while I was disappointed, I wasn't surprised. I told my husband about it, and he's already confronted her again. She once again apologized. My husband and I agreed that if we hear anything else from her against my pregnancy, then we'll go no contact, which I think is needed.
Yeah,
that is
honestly.
necessary.
Yeah.
I mean, just like if your husband every time has confronted her and you guys have seen no actual change, then
Right.
relationship, it's over.
There's nothing else you could do about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since my husband is the oldest and will be giving her the first grandchild and starting the newest generation of their immediate family, we knew this would cause issues. After telling my sister-in-law about our decision, she said I should distance myself, but keeping a grandchild from her might not go over well. Still, both my husband and I have already agreed. Now, I don't know. Am I the a-hole since she already apologized? There are some comments and an update, but you haven't done it yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you haven't done it yet. You're
Right.
still giving her an opportunity.
Right.
She just probably won't take it.
Yeah, exactly.
So no, you're not the a-hole.
Yeah, definitely not.
Commenter 1 says, not the a-hole. Check with a lawyer about parental versus grandparent rights in your local jurisdiction. If there are no grandparent rights she can sue for, prep to block her and anyone else that she sends your info to. Be prepared on both of you. Make sure there is nothing she can do to you or your children. OP says, fortunately, we live in Florida, so according to my Google searches that you gave me the idea for, she can only really do anything if we're unfit or absent, if I'm reading it correctly, of course. Commenter 2, not the a-hole. She made a meaningless apology and has continued to badmouth you to the rest of the family. Restricting her access to your child is the way to go. Your mother-in-law is a toxic in-law to you. Read the book by Susan Ford, and your husband might want to read her book about toxic parents too. You have to understand how damaging a mother-in-law like this can be to a child. Since you and your husband are on the same page here, you may want to spend some time with a therapist to help you with your strategy to avoid having her as a malevolent influence in your lives. OP says, I only feel bad because my relationship with my grandmother really shaped me, even when she and my mother weren't on the same page all the time. And all I want is for them to have that same relationship. Where is OP's father-in-law in this whole situation, and can he intervene? OP says he is here and he's a decent guy, but he's more of a happy wife, happy life type of person, so the most he does is change the subject if a joke gets too bad. And there is an update, folks. 2 days later.
Oh, wow.
Any
Fast.
thoughts?
I don't really know what else there is to do, really.
Yeah.
Honestly. So I feel like, especially since you're pregnant.
You're pregnant.
Now,
You're busy.
Yeah, you can't risk, if this is causing you so much stress, that stress, if it gets too bad, it
Not
can
good.
complicate the pregnancy. So I feel
Yeah.
like, even if it's just for a little bit or something, that you don't talk to her, maybe do that
I agree.
while you're pregnant.
While you're pregnant. You don't want to stress. Update. Since my post, my mother-in-law has spoken against me again. This time she commented that I will be slowly endangering my baby because I told my sister-in-law about the vaccines doctors recommended during pregnancy. My mother-in-law overheard and decided it'd be a good idea to gossip about me on the phone with her sister. Word got around, and eventually my sister-in-law told me what was said. This did hurt a bit because as a first-time mom, I just want to do anything to help my baby. My mother wholeheartedly disagrees with her and said that she got every vaccine that was recommended when she was pregnant with both me and my siblings, and I got every vaccine growing up, including my flu shot. I'm perfectly healthy. I told my husband about it, and he officially sat his mother down today and told her what would be happening. He explained that her actions have been unacceptable for far too long, and that she'd have no access to me or our baby until further notice. That means no more attending family dinners, vacations, events, etc. I told her that any information she gets about the baby will only be because I agreed to give it to her, and it'll go through my husband or sister-in-law. She did not react very well and said that we were very selfish for cutting off the relationship between a child and their grandmother, claiming a grandmother is just as important as a mother. I reminded her that my mother is still alive and only lives an hour and a half away, so my child will still have a relationship with their grandmother. We've since come home, and my sister-in-law told me that my mother-in-law has already told both her and a few other family members. Well, she, her husband, my husband's brother, and another sister-in-law have attempted to defend me. It's not a lot of people in my corner, but I hope you could be in our corner by listening to full episodes with stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. There is a little bit left to the story, but do you have any final thoughts?
I'm glad that the husband sat down with her.
Yeah.
Glad that she is finally like understanding. Well, I mean, hopefully she's understanding that, like, yeah, no, that's like actually what's going to happen. It's not something that we're just saying and then
no, you will lose contact with your grandchild.
This is happening, and you can apologize to make it better, maybe.
Yeah.
And maybe act differently, but otherwise we're not gonna forget. So,
that's how it is.
Glad that was said.
Me too. I'm glad your husband's on your side.
Yep.
Because we don't get a lot of stories where that happens.
Exactly.
OP continues, my husband's father has since called him and said that while he isn't required to always get along with his mom, we're all still family and he shouldn't take her only grandchild away from her because of a disagreement, as family argues all the time. It's very hectic right now, but I'm sure everyone will recover. Thanks everyone for your advice and words. And OP on her sister-in-law's thoughts on the situation. My sister-in-law is a registered nurse after studying nursing during college, and one of her professors was a retired pediatric nurse. She has so many horror stories that her professor told her about children who came in with horrible diseases that would have been avoided with just one vaccine. She's 1,000% on board with me, which is why I'm not as crazy as my mother-in-law wants it to seem. OP shares thoughts on differing opinions regarding raising the kids in today's generation. OP says differing opinions are fine about things like whether or not a child should have an iPad, bedtimes, and clothes. But to me, vaccines aren't an agree to disagree thing, as it directly impacts the health of my baby. Even if she didn't agree with me, the reason she was cut off was because of the fact that she quite literally said, I'm slowly unaliving my baby. What first-time mother or any type of mom wants to be told that? OP explains the relationship between her mother-in-law and her husband's paternal grandma. OP says the crazy part is that her mother-in-law, God rest her soul, was her worst enemy. I only met the woman maybe once or twice, and then went to her funeral just 3 weeks after my husband and I's first-year anniversary. She hated her so much that she didn't even seem remotely sad from her passing and just stroked her husband's hair as he cried. They had a family meeting at Granny's house after the funeral, and when everyone was sharing moments, she had nothing nice to say other than the basics. Generational trauma, I guess. And commenter says, a grandmother is just as important as a mother. Not at all. Good grandparents are a bonus. Bad grandparents are how generational trauma is carried on. You are not keeping your child away from her. You are protecting your child from her. Glad you and your husband are on the same page. And that is the end of that story.